Welcome back to another episode of the Profitable Home Services Podcast. This is the podcast where we dig deep and we uncover those hidden profit leaks. And we want to do more than that. We want to do more than just uncover them. We want to help you learn how to plug them and put that money back in your bottom line profits. Today, we are happy to have Donnie Boivin joining us, and we've got another really good topic to bring you. So listen up and let's take off and roll. Welcome, Donnie. Thanks for
Hey,
coming on the program.
thank you, Diane. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you. I think it should be a fun conversation.
Well, I heard on the grapevine you were a fun guy to visit with, so don't let me down.
I'll do the best I can. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Mm.
So we were talking before we went live about the importance of networking when you own a business. And I'm going to say right up front, I'm an amazing introvert. Networking scares the bejeebies out of me. And
Yep.
even though I can come on and do this kind of a thing, I can talk to you one on one. But I'm the best wallflower when it comes to put me in a room full of people. How does somebody like that network? Because I'm sure there's home service business owners out there going, "Yeah, Diane, I get it. I'm happy to hang out in the corner too."
You don't just flat out. It's never going to work for you. No, I'm totally kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Okay, good, great. Show's over. Thanks, everybody.
So, here's the thing. I think, and I don't have any statistics to back this up, but I think 90% of people that would ever even consider going into any sort of business networking are introverted in nature.
That
Um,
makes
and,
me feel better.
well, and the reason
I'm
I
not a
say
weirdo.
it is,
Well, maybe I am.
I think we all are a little weird somewhere, right? But I think that most people find networking because they're looking for an additional means to grow their company.
Right.
And, whether it's home services or you're selling into corporations, it becomes a tool in the tool belt, and it's taught very poorly in a lot of places, but people are like, okay, I need to find clients. How do I find clients? And either a friend says, hey, you should go to this networking event for me, or this networking group with me, or you should go to this after hours with me, or maybe they find it via Google search and everything else, and they hear this idea of networking. Like the first time I found networking and researched it, it sounded like an AA meeting. I'm like, why are people sitting around a room introducing themselves and talking business? And I'm like, that's the weirdest crap I've ever heard in my life, right? But I
First
think,
one, first one I went to, I was sat back and watched them and went, I'm out of here.
you know, and the truth be told is I think, you kind of have the hunter farmer mentality when it comes to business development and sales. You got the ones that are really aggressive, will cold call, door knock, and do those type of things. And then you got the ones that are a lot more passive and more introverted, and alikes. And you tend to find the more passive and introverted on the networking side. What you see, the people that do come across more loud or more out there, they're just a little less introverted than everybody else in the
Oh.
room.
Yeah, and
So like,
I always thought they were the extroverts and the rest of us were the introverts.
no, no. See, I'm a situational extrovert. Like, depending on the room I'm in, I can own that room. But also, depending on the room I am, I'm the wallflower and don't want to get in the mix. Right. So it just depends
Oh.
on who's in the room, what's the situation, and a lot of things. And I think, given the same situation, a lot of other people would. Like, if you went into a room where you knew a lot of people, you're not going to be as introverted versus going into a room where you know absolutely nobody. Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's a true statement. I was
Right.
just
So
thinking of a mastermind group I hang out in. I can visit with any of them, but I still am one of the more quiet ones in the group.
for sure, it's gonna be your nature. But I will tell you that what I've learned over the years is the introverts, especially the wallflowers, 99% of the time are decision makers in companies.
Yes, I would agree with that.
So here's the trick for in person. Now we do a lot of virtual, but in person networking, the absolute my favorite trick in the whole wide world is to go walk the wall and just walk up to the first person standing by themselves and say this almost exact phrase. Man, I hate doing this. and then just watch how the other person reacts. So imagine you and I, we're networking, right? At some sort of event or something. You're hugging a wall. I walk up, meek, not aggressive, and say, "Man, I hate this stuff too." How are you going to
Uh,
respond to me?
I'm gonna go, oh wow, somebody finally understands me.
100%. 100%. And all introverts need is the start of the conversation,
Right.
right? And usually the dialogue can happen after that.
Mm-hmm.
It's so now they're going to walk away from that conversation just completely wore out, drained because it took so much
Yes.
out of them.
Yep.
But that first conversation, that first dialogue and the likes, really allows them to go, okay, I know how to reply to that. I know what to say to
I
that.
can do this.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. So for me, who's kind of the situational introvert extrovert, what I always tell everybody is you go in, you get your liquid courage, whatever that is for you, if you're in in-person events, and then before you go find your friends, go do a lap, find a wallflower, say I hate doing this or I don't want to be out here, whatever that first move is for you, get them talking and then take them into the crowd and then go wall walk again. Because for an introvert, it allows you to recapture your thoughts. It allows you
Okay.
to
Right.
re-energize yourself to get away from the crowd a second. And then you just walk up until you find the next person on the wall and say the same thing. Man, I hate doing this. And it just strikes the conversation. And you're going to find more often than not, they're decision makers in companies. And it'll be a great conversation.
I back in the days when I did more in-person events, it's easier to hide behind a screen, but when you did more
Yeah.
in-person events, I would tell myself I cannot go home until I've talked to, started out to be two people that I do not know. I had to walk up to two people and then I could leave. And then it went to three, and then it went to four, and then to five. And, I was starting to get pretty brave. I could walk up to somebody. But as soon as I hit that goal, boom, I was out of there.
Out. Yep. Well, I
I
mean, it's
had no
smart.
other reason to be there.
Nope.
I was
Because I mean,
terrible.
most people turn it into a social hour anyways. And some people treat networking like they're at a baseball card convention trying to collect as many business cards as they possibly can.
Hmm.
So for me, I had a similar rule, but it was I go set two appointments, and it doesn't mean it was something I'm going to sell to somebody, but I was at least going to set a secondary conversation, whether it was a get to know you,
Okay.
virtual coffee, in person coffee,
Okay.
or maybe it was a sales meeting, just depending on the conversation went. But I was going to set two appointments and then get out. Because anything beyond whatever your goal is, and if you don't have
Hmm.
a goal walking into the room, you're going to really hurt yourself, right? Because you're not going to know what to do. But whatever, set a goal, go in, accomplish the goal, and go home. Because anything after that, you're either going to drink too much, say too much, freaking, do too much, whatever. You're gonna too
Something. Yeah.
much it. Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
so set your goal, hit your goal, get out.
Now, I like your goal better than mine. Mine was just to exist. I
Yeah,
did
but
it.
you
I
got to think
survived.
about from where you're coming from, though. That's a beautiful goal because that was a big leap for
It
you,
was, oh, it was huge for me. I was
right?
so, so shy back then.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. So
shy.
there's absolutely nothing wrong with your goal. My goal, I knew my personality and had an easier time talking to people. So I had to
Hmm.
kick it to a next level of going, okay, how do I set up two appointments? It later, my goal became, how long can I stand in a position in a room, command enough authority, feel like I'm commanding enough authority that people would come to me? That became my next goal from there. Right,
Wow.
which was an interesting perspective because you could watch a room of people networking and you can see the person that commands the room because people are coming to them,
Can.
like the crowd. So I'm like, how do I create that presence for myself? And that became, my next move. Then after that, it was okay, I can command a room. How can I command a room and set two appointments? Right. So I kept evolving that goal to see how far I could push it.
Okay, you got me curious now. Over and above my, I just survived it. How do you command a room?
So think about so first, the loudest person in the room is usually the brokest. Okay.
Generally, yes.
Generally,
Hmm.
right? Because
Yep.
they have to be loud, they have to be center of attention for people to notice them because that being noticed makes them feel good.
Right.
So
Yep.
and I found this out when I was at an event in Atlanta, Georgia. I had the privilege of being introduced and talking with a gentleman who was a billionaire. And, we had a great quick conversation and I walked away and I just sat and watched how people approached him. And it was fascinating to watch how people approached him because everybody in the room knew who he was. He was a known name.
Mhm.
And the people that wanted something from him, like you watched their body language approach him and you watched his body language close down. It was so wild. But the people that didn't want anything from him, were coming at it from more of a learner standpoint. You could see him open up and you watch them opened up.
Oh,
Then
that's
later that night,
cool.
I kept an eye on him just to see what
Uh-huh.
he did. And one of the coolest things he did is he never went into a crowd. He picked a spot, he stood in that spot. And have you ever seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk on power poses?
No, but I've seen other ones.
Okay, so go watch Amy Cuddy's TED Talk on
Mhm.
power poses. Really, really cool idea. It's going to have you standing around looking like Wonder Woman, but it's a really, really cool idea. And what I watched him is it wasn't a posture per se, but he was very open, but also had almost like a bouncer vibe to him. So it was like you respected the situation instantly. His feet were apart. He was more open and broad-chested and wide open. So I thought, okay, is it just the stance? So like one of the next networking events I went to, I'm like, can I just stand and look like I'm somebody? And that worked a little bit. But what I
Mhm.
found out a lot more of it is the mental game you're playing in your head and the tapes you're playing in your head, because just standing a certain way will make you feel good. But if you can stand that way and go, this is my room, I own this room, I can
Oh,
bring
okay.
so much value to the people in this room. I can help so many people here. I can teach so many people here. I can learn from so many people here, right? And you literally start giving yourself almost like a pep talk, like baseball. Like so I look at it this way. Somebody batting 300 in the major leagues is means they are getting on base 3 times out of 10, which is hitting amazing in Major League Baseball. And I'm
Mhm.
not a sports guy, okay? So what I figure is if they're getting on base 3 times out of 10, they're not walking to that pitcher mound going, man, I'm going to strike out. I'm going to screw this one up. I'm not going to hit the ball. They're walking up to the pitcher mound going, I'm going to knock the pure living crap out of this thing. I'm going to freaking knock this thing out of the park. So it's not the motivational, always be positive energy crap. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about commanding yourself and how you're going to show up in a moment, right? And
Okay.
and literally just giving yourself a pep talk, and you'll be amazed how much your posture opens up, how much more welcoming but also commanding of the room, and you'll watch people approach you differently the more you practice and put yourself out there doing this.
That is amazing. I'm hoping the listeners are really paying attention to this because I could just see what a difference that would make, especially in somebody who's an amazing introvert like me who hates networking events.
Hmm.
If I could carry that off, wow.
Uh, and
Almost makes me want to go to an in-person event.
it's a lot of fun. I
Almost.
well, I mean, and if you want some other silly little tricks for introverts to do in person, and we can talk about online too, but one of my favorite things to tell introverts to do is if there's any sort of sign-in desk, sign in, and then just go stand at the end of the desk, the sign-in desk, and just stand there. Now, why would you just stand at the end of the sign-in desk?
Because people will say hi to you as they come to the line.
Yeah, because they think you work there. They're gonna walk up to you and
Oh,
go, "Do
okay.
you know where we're supposed to go?" And you're like, "Oh no, no, I'm just an attendee. Ice is broken, right? So the
Okay.
dialogue can start." Okay, and it works. Another funny one is when you're signing in, just say, "This is my first time here. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be doing." And I promise
Okay.
you, they're going to point right to the most introvert or extroverted person in the room and go, hold on, let me get Sally. Let me bring Sally over, right? And now you're going to have this new best friend that's going to do all the networking for you,
Okay.
right? And they're going to take you out around the room. And then the last one, take a wingman. Go take your extroverted buddy or the person who's pretending to be an extrovert
Yeah.
and say, hey, take me around. Help me go meet people. And they'll take you around. People like helping people
Right. They do. Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
So
So
those
those
are
are
my,
some pretty good tips right there for those of us who don't relish in-person events like that.
for sure, for sure. So, but I think a lot of people are networking and it's not working for them.
Hmm.
And it's tragic. And the reason it's not working for them is because it's unintentionally being or interacted and used like it's a transaction. So
Right.
people
Instead of
having
them
their,
building a
yeah,
relationship. Yeah.
they're like, I've got to go here because I need to find clients.
Right.
And even though every networking organization on the planet says don't try and sell the people you're networking with, right? Build relationships with it. What
Hmm.
always happens is everybody does business with everybody in the room. And it's because that's the only people, most times, the people in the room are talking to. They're not doing
Okay.
anything else outside of their business.
Right.
So their clients are the people they network with because they don't have any clients almost anywhere else.
Okay. That makes sense.
Right. So everybody ends up pitching, the room. So what I've had to figure out now, I really do this a lot in the business to business space, but it works great in the B2C space as well. So like my first sales job was selling heating and air conditioning door to door in Texas. Miserable, horrible, horrible, horrible job.
Horribly hot. Yes.
Yeah, just disgusting, right? If I were to go back and sell heating and air conditioning services, the first thing that I would do is I'd go find the best painter in town. I'd go find the best window guy in town, the best roofer in town, the best freaking plumber in town.
Mhm.
And I would have a pitch down with each one of us. We'd meet once a week and we'd have this conversation. These are the calls I'm going on this week. Every one of them, I promise, as soon as I get the deal done, take care of their home, the first thing I'm going to do is say, hey, can we walk around your house? And why I walk around their house and be like, hey, when's the last time you had your windows looked at? When's the last time you had your roof inspected? When's the last time? And now you imagine you got 6, 7 people that are all into trades and they have this relationship where every time they finish a call, they go, let's walk around the house. When's the last time you had all the services they don't do?
Wow.
And then
Yep.
say, these are my best partners that I would highly recommend. Now, these people have just paid you money to do great service on their house,
Mhm.
like in my case, if it was HVAC, right? So they're already appreciative of what I've done. So if I recommend somebody else, unless they have a brother or
Yep.
cousin, that does it, right? They're gonna be like, yeah, give me the number. Let's absolutely introduce me to them. I need to been thinking about doing whatever, and a
Hmm.
ton of business would happen for everybody if everybody would just do that.
That would be amazing if they would work like that.
100%.
And that concept right there, I have brought it out a few times as a big profit leak because they'll spend extra money marketing when they could be small networking like that.
Absolutely.
Getting your
Absolutely.
peeps around you and working it together. Yeah.
Yeah. When I was doing door-to-door HVAC sales, I'm in my early 20s. What I would find is I would get excited when I would see a freaking roofing van pull up, a crew pull up, or anything, because I would inevitably walk over and introduce myself and said, "Hey, so you guys are working on this house here, and as hopefully you caught the sales guy and not the crew."
Right.
And we say,
Mhm.
would you mind, telling me about your company? And I'd start asking them questions. And like, hey, you want to meet the homeowner? And then all of a sudden, the guy doing the roofing work is taking me in to meet the homeowner.
Oh, that's
So
cool.
now I'm almost getting a warm intro. So
Hmm.
what I started doing was on my walks, I would mark, okay, this, painter's van's in this neighborhood, this roofer van's in this neighborhood, this, plumbing trucks in here. And, I would love it when I saw like a roofing sign in the yard because that would be the roofer that I would say, okay, I don't have a relationship with them. How do I go get a relationship with them? So if they're already in there, it's easier if I can get in through them. So I would the next
Hmm.
house, if there's already roof guard, I'm like, hey, I've just noticed and there was a roof, being done over here. I do HVAC. Are you guys looking to do your roof as well? And it gave me a totally different way to introduce myself at doors, and the
Wow.
likes. You know,
That is impressive.
Thank you. I mean, networking is
Yes.
an offensive sport, so it's something that you've got to do, and it needs to get an ROI, and you've got to be very proactive with it.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
you know, and it's a very expensive thing if you're not careful.
It is.
Because you
Yes.
figure in drive times to events, any drinks you have to events,
Hmm.
memberships, everything. So it better turn an ROI for you, or it's going to cost you a ton. You know,
Right.
so
So, so how do you pull those same tricks off virtually?
So, a lot about an individual can be told by how they show up on screen.
Okay.
So, I think everything tells a story, but you got to do something that people don't like. You got to put people in boxes. Okay. So, which people don't like, but you got to make assumptions. Okay. So, like
Okay.
the first thing I think of, and this is probably horrible, but if they have a green screen background, I'm like, what are they hiding? You
Oh,
know,
I do the same thing. What are they
right? Right.
hiding?
Okay, so that starts to tell a story.
Hmm.
Do they look like they got up ready for work, or do they look like they're just going to Zoom it all day? Right? Is there things in their background that tell a story, like all your books?
Uh-huh.
I can tell you're into Mike McAllowitz. He's a great guy. Um,
You can tell I'm a nerd, huh?
and
Yep.
but it all tells a story, and I think people miss a huge opportunity by not putting a lot of cool things in their background to
Hmm.
help tell and sell the story for them, right? So what I look for is, do they project? Meaning, if they're introducing themselves, are they leaning into the conversation like you would in person? Because people do the
Okay.
same thing online, or are they
Right.
more hesitant?
Leaning
Um,
back and
yeah,
yeah. Yep.
100%. Or are they rattling off about things because they're nervous trying to feel the energy? So,
Okay.
one of the things that I always recommend people do is immediately take command of the call. And I got a really simple trick for this. So, let's say you and I are meeting one on one and we're
Okay.
just getting on. And there's usually this kind of awkward start of, how do we get introduced? What do you do?
Mhm.
This is what I do. And it's usually a really weird start. I always start off every call. I'm like, "Hey, Diane, great seeing you." And I'll always ask, "How do we get introduced?" I was getting ready to look at my notes and I haven't got there. Right. And for that little move, what I do is get them to start thinking about something. Right.
Yep.
Or they're going to bring up, and like Darren introduces, oh, Darren's such a great guy. Right. And you got to be genuine with that. Right. You can't blow smoke up their butt. So, and then from there, I'm going to like, you know what? Let's do this. And the phrase "let's do this" is a key phrase because it changes the dynamic about what's fixing to happen in
Yep.
the conversation. You're starting to command the conversation. You say, "Let's do this. How about you tell me your story? I'll tell you my story. I've got no agenda, but we'll just see what turns up from there, and we'll decide where the conversation goes from there." Right? And that simple
Okay.
maneuver kind of
Yeah.
just sets the stage, and most people will be like, "Oh, cool. Let me tell you. What would you like to
Uh-huh.
know?" Right? And now it gives them a chance to kind of go through their routine, because most people got a routine on how they tell their story. It's almost the same every time. So you let them go through, and you can tell as they're telling a story, you can tell a lot of things as well. So if they only talk about their business, right, then odds are they are trying to sell something.
Okay.
If they talk about their journey, they're looking to build a relationship. Now, it's not
Okay.
100%
Yep.
foolproof, but it's pretty
But
solid,
that makes sense though.
right?
It really
Um,
does. Yeah.
and so I'm looking for how they introduce themselves. If they never tell me their story, I'm gonna say, "Well, that's great. I love to hear about your business, but how did you get into that?" Right? Because
Okay.
now I want the background. I want
Right.
behind the scenes, because as somebody's telling us their story, we can learn a lot of things about them. So if somebody's 1 year in business, what are some of the assumptions we can make?
They're still trying to figure it out. They're growing. They're in trying to figure out how to hire people and keep them and just
The-
all that stuff that
all the
new
things, right?
owners, you
Now,
bet.
if they're 10 years in business, what are some assumptions we can make?
Assumptions though, hopefully they've got this somewhat figured out. They've got a decent team. They might be struggling with retention at that point because the business has changed over time and people don't
100%,
like
right?
change.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
so what I like to do is, as I'm listening to their story, I'm making assumptions about their journey, their business, because as I tell my story, I know how to relate. So if somebody's 1 year in
Okay.
business, I'm thinking through, I'm not going to talk about my 8 year of business. I'm going to go back and talk about year one.
Right.
right? So now we can bond and rapport and have a lot more genuine conversation
Okay.
versus getting them worried about, oh my God, this guy's so much farther ahead of them. I don't shouldn't be in this conversation or anything that pops up like this. You're like, man. So if somebody tells me they're 1 year, it's always, well, welcome to business. I
Uh-huh.
get it. Right. And then I'll go back and tell them how horrible my first year of business is and how, literally we almost lost everything in the process because I
Yep.
want them to know it's tough. It's not easy building a company. And so they can relate. And then for me, I think the goal of doing this virtually, especially one-on-one, is to figure out what value you can bring that individual. And you and I were talking a little
Me-
bit beforehand.
right, yeah, meeting them where they are right now.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And what doors can I open for them that just open some magical opportunities or relationships for them? And
Hmm.
that's where I think people struggle the most. They just don't know how to connect the dots with people.
Right. Yeah. Because especially, well, at any stage in business, so you're so busy in your business that you're not necessarily able to look out beyond it.
100%.
And you need somebody else to do that for you sometimes.
Absolutely. When you're worried about paying your bills, it's very hard to think about anything else,
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
um, my favorite thing in the world to do is to literally introduce people to key people in their world that can give them an opportunity. Maybe that's a referral, maybe it's another introduction, maybe it's an event coming up or other people they should meet. So I think connectors are the most fascinating people on the planet. Some of us are naturally wired to connect the dots and put people together. Some
Hmm.
people have no idea, what connecting is or how to introduce two people. Have you seen the same thing?
I've seen it a lot. Um, and and I'm going to say that over the years, especially early on, I struggled with that big time. I didn't feel like I knew anybody important enough to connect somebody else to them
So,
until I'd been in business for quite a while and now
a-
had a decent network out there.
absolutely. Do you think early on you thought that you might be introducing people and were worried that, they were going to try and pitch them or maybe they're going to try and sell them the
Yeah,
services, right?
you
So,
bet. Yep.
I think because networking hasn't been taught properly, there's a misunderstanding of what's happening when you're actually connecting people. So we have to separate out what an introduction is and what a referral is. Okay.
Completely two different things.
100%. And
Yeah.
referrals have been taught that they're introductions. So if I introduce you to two people, no, that's not a referral. A referral is an introduction with a sales discovery call attached.
Right. Right.
So if I was,
Mhm.
if somebody was telling me they were looking into profit first, looking into their books and their likes, I'm like, have you met Diane? And make that introduction. And there's at least a sales discovery call, there.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it's
Mhm.
just two good people meeting. And most
Right.
people, when they think about connecting, they're thinking about it from a referral perspective.
Instead of being more of a servant, a server, I can serve them by sharing A plus B can make a fantastic C out there.
Absolutely, absolutely,
Yeah.
right? So from introductions, things we can do. We can give them wisdom. We can teach them things that
Mhm.
we've learned. We can teach them to so we can introduce them to other people we've met. So just early in your business, how many in-person or virtual networking were you doing, early years of your business? Like a week. How many were you doing a week?
Not very many because well, I've been in business long enough. There were no virtual events back
Right, for
then.
sure, for sure, for sure, for sure.
And so you had to actually travel around. So outside of like a local chamber or something, there really wasn't
Cool.
much available when I first
So
started.
when you went to those local chamber events, did you come home with business cards?
Yes.
Okay. What I want people to understand is every one of those business cards is an introduction somebody else needs to meet. So,
All right.
especially if you're just starting out and you
Mm-hmm.
go to an in-person event, you collect two or three business cards. What's the odds of the two people's business cards you just met? What's the odds they know each other? Maybe they don't.
Right.
So
Yeah.
how hard would it be to go, hey, I met you both at XYZ event, not sure if you know each other, but thought maybe I could be the icebreaker and introduce the two of you. If you already know each other, just know I was thinking about you,
That is
right?
so cool.
Right? It's
Even
just
an introvert could do that.
absolutely, absolutely. Or let's say you went to an in-person event, you collected some business cards, and now you're meeting with somebody virtually. You can go, hey, I don't know if any of these people would be relevant for you, but I was just at an in-person event. I met these people. Could any of these people? And you literally just start reading off the names and what they knew. Would you like to meet this person? Would you like to meet this person? Right? And you literally take, in person to virtual and you start connecting them because you're not saying, hey, go do business together,
Right.
saying, "Hey, I think you guys might have a cool conversation. Maybe you can open doors for each other." You know,
Mhm.
and so you take and your first introductions are going to come from the first people you meet. Now
Right.
imagine you're sitting at your desk and an email comes through and goes, "Hey Diane, I met you at a networking event. I also met, Mike at a networking event. Not sure if you two know each other, but I thought you two might have a fun conversation. If you already know each other, this no, I was thinking about you." Right? The odds are you're going to reply back and go, well, actually, I don't know Mike. Mike, nice to meet you. Would like to get to know more about you, right? It's a cool feeling when somebody brings your name up, in the
Oh, yeah.
conversations, and it really helps people break that original ice.
Well, and it makes you feel important too that they reached out like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the more we reach out and open those doors for others, the more we're going to receive those same type of introductions because we're
Mhm.
basically teaching our network what they should be doing by making all these introductions,
Okay. I get
right?
it.
So the more you teach others, and what I'll do is I would build relationships with people and I would make them a bunch of introductions. I would be like if you and I were doing a lot of networking and I'd done some introduction for you and you hadn't done anything for me, and it's not a tit for tat thing, I would just say, "Hey Diane, what's the last event you went to networking wise?" And you would say XYZ event. I'm like, "Did you grab any business cards from that event?" And you're like, "Oh, I did." I said, "Would you mind, sharing with me some of those people that you met at that networking event? And would you be okay if I
Okay.
told you these are a couple people that I would like to meet?" Right? And I'm not looking at it because I want to pitch my services. I'm just expanding my network out,
Right. Right.
right? And so imagine if we put the scenario out there. If I came to you and said, Diane, what's the last event you went networking at? Would you mind sharing a couple of names? And then I said, ooh, I want to meet Mike. What's the likelihood you'd be comfortable enough to make that introduction to say, hey, Mike, I met Donnie, showed him that you met, and thought you guys might have a fun conversation.
Mhm. Well, and that's easier to do than the whole conversation of maybe you'll get a sale out of it or
Right.
something. Yeah. Because now there's no pressure. You're just
Yep.
introducing two people who might hit it off.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
the easier we make life for others, the easier our life is. It's never easy, but we can definitely make it easier,
Hmm.
by opening a lot of the right doors. And I think in general, people want to do good. They want to help other
They
people.
do.
They just don't know how because either A, no one's ever taught them,
Hmm.
to B, they're not asking themselves the right questions, and C, they're just not pushing themselves out there enough to go, okay, I'm doing this networking thing. How do I actually make money doing this? Like, what is
Right.
the
Right.
thing I need to be doing so they can start testing and trying and doing different things until they figure out a style that will work for them? Mm.
This has been amazing. Wow.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm really seriously on a massive mission to change how the world networks because it's been
Uh-huh.
taught so bad for many, many, many
Right.
years. So I love these conversations. Can sometimes get on a soapbox. So, but thank you for letting me air this out a little bit.
Oh, you bet. Because I've always been somebody who dreaded networking
Mm.
um, opportunities, and that's in air quotes, opportunities, because they were so uncomfortable because most of the people in the room were trying to sell you.
Yep.
They weren't there to create a relationship. They were there to score a sale.
Yep.
And it felt like I don't know, bloodthirsty leeches coming at you or something. And so you learn to avoid them
So
instead of
here's a
them just
funny,
introducing.
absolutely. Here's a funny trick. So
Mm.
let's say you get one guy, you're at an event, one person walks up to you and they're just sleazy salesperson trying to sell you stuff. Like my favorite thing, fake a phone call. Okay. Like I will pull my phone out, hit a button, go, hey, sorry about this, I got to take this, right? And walk away. Now let's say later on, you see another person go up and they're selling the crap out of you and just pitching your services. Fake a phone call, but go, hey, hold on 1 second. Catch your breath. And they go, okay, got it. Come back to the second person that tried to sell you and go, hey, I need you to meet somebody and take them over to the first person that tried to sell you and just walk away. So
That
it
is
takes a little
brilliant.
bit more extroverted personality to do that, but I love doing it all the time.
Uh-huh.
So
I could just see you doing that in a room.
it's fun. It's fun, because until people have bad experiences, they don't learn, right? Until things,
Right.
get screwed up, they don't learn. So I mean, I could teach a ton of ways to get away from those type of people. But given time, I don't want to bogart your entire show. But I think at the end of the day, you've got to look at it, and go, how do I get ROI from this? How do I actually get a
Right.
return on my
Yep.
time investment, my energy investment, my financial investment? What do I have to do? Or even maybe sometimes better question, what am I not doing that I should be that might make this work better for me?
Right. Right.
So
Yeah. Well, you have just filled me up with good ideas, and maybe I'm willing to go try a networking event again.
mission accomplished. I love it. I love it.
Turn this introvert into somebody who'll go to networking events voluntarily.
uh,
Hmm.
uh,
Well,
I'd like
Donnie,
go ahead.
I say thank you for opening my introverted eyes. I'm hoping some of my listeners are going, yeah, maybe I could do that too. That's not that hard. I think I could grab that one tidbit and go give it a try. Because it's hard when you're an introvert. It's really hard to put yourself out there and to have the confidence to put yourself out there. That's
100%.
hard. The
100%.
extroverts, it seems like it comes so easy for them, but
It
the rest of us,
it feels like it comes easy for them. They're just better at faking it
is
than
it?
anybody else.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody struggles at some point, in some endeavor, some room.
Uh-huh.
They've just learned to either be a little bit louder so they don't look so extroverted, but most people wouldn't be in that room if they didn't have some sort of introverted nature to them.
Okay. Okay.
So,
All righty. Well, before we start wrapping up our program today, I want to bring you our most important question of the whole time that we have together.
bring it.
And that is, can you share a hidden or unique profit leak that you see when you're working with other home service businesses?
It's all the things that they're spending their money on for business development that they are not proactively getting an ROI on. So for me, what I'll find most times, like I coached a HVAC company once upon a time. They had about 10 different reps, and the reps were all members of different chambers of commerce. They were all in different networking groups. They
Mhm.
were, required to go to different after hour events. And when I sat down with the president of the company, and I said, how do you know this is working? And he said, well, they bring in deals from time to time. I said, well, let's really break down the numbers. So I had the guys and gals, the salespeople, start tracking, where they were spending their time, where the leads were coming from, where the deals were coming from, and how it was going. And what we found is most of them did not need to go to a single after hours because they weren't pulling any business, no ROI out of that activity whatsoever.
Mhm.
A couple of the networking groups were really solid, but the people had been in the groups for 2 or 3 years and that were helping them. But others were
Mhm.
attending different associations and everything that they were paying buku bucks for, but not getting anything out of the associate. One of them was like the Home Builders Association, and they were paying almost like a couple grand a year for this membership and not getting anything out of it. So we didn't pull them out of that association. We said, okay, how do we get an ROI from that activity? What do we need
Oh,
to
you
change
bet.
inside that activity? And, I'm a firm believer that if you're paying for it, it better be a 10x return for what it costs you to be a participant in it. And if you're not getting a 10x return, and you got to give it 1 year, things take time to
Right.
build relationship, but after 1 year,
Mhm.
if you're not pushing towards a 10x, return, then you really got to start looking at, is that worth my time? So most times people are paying for a lot of different associations and memberships, networking that they are not either able to invest the time in, not investing the right time in, or just throwing their cash in the wind, hoping, it comes back to them.
Right.
So,
Okay. That
that would
is
be
a very unique one that we've not had on the program. So thank you for
yes.
bringing us one. Yes.
Nice.
I like it when we get a new one that we've not heard before. So
So that's
thank
awesome.
you for
That's
sharing
awesome.
that. Yeah. I'm thinking I'm guilty of that. I belong to the local builders association, but I never go to any of their meetings or anything, and I don't
So
get anything from it.
right. And I think a lot of people, it's like putting your logo in a little league baseball diamond. Like, does that actually bring business?
No.
Um, I look at it this way, and a good barometer to look at is, Diane, if you had a salesperson working for you and you were paying for their membership to the Builders Association, and they were doing the same activity you're doing with the Builders Association, would you still be paying for their membership to the association?
No. And I
No.
just renewed it about a month ago.
Right? It's a great way to look at it because we don't always see it through our own eyes, but putting it through the
Right.
lens of, what if my salesperson was doing this,
Mhm.
right? Would they be where I need them to do? So, like, I'll sit across from, small business owners all the time. I'm like, okay, let's play this out. If you hired a salesperson and they were doing the business development activities for your company at the level you're currently doing, would they still have a job? And
No.
90% of them are like, nope, that would
No.
not happen. I'm like, so here's a flip side of this you got to think about. And this, people hate me for this. How much of a jackass does it make us if we would expect a salesperson to work at that level, but we wouldn't do it ourselves?
Ooh, that's brutal.
Right. And I said, people throw shade at me all the time for that one because, but it's real. And then granted, we still got to run a business. We still have a lot of other activities and things we do. So we're not going to
Yeah.
be able to perform at the level of a salesperson, but we better at least be 50% of what we expect somebody else to do,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and
Ouch.
for sure.
Thank
Right.
you for leaving us with a big ouch.
Well, let me do this. So guys, if you hung out with us and you got any of value and and this was helpful, or any of other Diane's episodes have been helpful for you, do us a favor, take a screenshot wherever you're listening or watching this. Post this on social media. Tag me in it, Donnie Boivin in it. Tag Diane in it. If I see the tag, I will come comment, give you love. But growing a show is one of the toughest things in the world. So if you share this episode out, tell others about it. It's literally like giving Diane a virtual hug, and it will mean the world to her. It'll also let her know this is the type of content you guys are looking more for. And so she can go find more other amazing, awesome guests, like I'm sure she has for all of her other shows. So take a screenshot wherever you're listening to it, tag me in it, tag her in it. Happy to come throw you some love on it. This has just been a lot of fun, Diane. Thanks for having me on here.
Well, thank you. And thank you for that idea too, because it takes a lot to grow a
It
program.
does. It does.
I've been so excited. Our YouTube numbers are finally starting to go up, as
That's
well as all
awesome.
of our other ones. They're finally starting, and we're coming up almost on the 2 year mark.
That's awesome.
And
Good for you.
but yeah, we've gotten past that. Just your family members are dutifully listening. And
Yeah,
we actually have listeners out there, so it's pretty cool.
that is
But
cool.
boy,
And
does it take a long time.
it does. It does. I love telling people, Mr. Beast, who's the number one YouTuber in the world, he went almost 4 years without getting a like or comment on a single YouTube post. You know,
Wow,
Joe Rogan is almost 18 years running his show. So things like podcasts, YouTube channels, and everything else, it's a long play. You are building
it is.
momentum over time. And I've got friends that, have 400,000 followers on YouTube channels, and they're making 4 or 5 grand a day. So play the long game with it. It's been really, really fun as long as you stay in the game.
Right, right. So, yes. Well, Donnie, thank you so much for sharing these nuggets of wisdom. I know I'm looking forward to the show notes that come out from this one because I'm going to be pointing that finger back at myself because I have avoided networking events just because it's so uncomfortable.
Mm, for
So
sure.
now I'll be armed with some new tools to go out there and give it a try and
That's
see
awesome.
what kind of an ROI I could actually get. So I've never gotten an ROI off of anything networking wise because I was always
Oh.
such a big chicken.
Well,
So
hopefully this gets you a little bit of nudge in the right direction.
yeah, you bet. So thank you. And listeners, I'm just hoping that you are finding value in this episode as well as all the other ones that we've put out there. And please, as Donnie said, if there's topics you would like us to bring, let us know. We are happy to go digging and finding guests, or better yet, if you know of people who would be a good guest on this program, reach out and let us know. We're very picky on who we bring to you because we always want to bring value. We want you to make sure that we are helping you grow that profitable business. We don't want you grinding and grinding and grinding year after year after year. We want you to have a profitable business, one that you love. Remember, it's not how much you make on the top line revenue, it's how much you keep because we can all grow our sales, but not everybody can keep that money and actually keep it back in their business. So, for those of you that are picking up on these profit leaks and implementing it in your business, kudos to you. I'm so proud of you and so happy for you. So, with that, I'm going to say we'll just let you join us on the next episode. Thank you again for being here and spending part of your day with us. Bye bye.